We have, in fact, a management joining us. The newly listed Fusion Microfinance stock has been on a tear. It's seen a 21% up move ever since November 15th when it made its debut on the bourses. To discuss the outlook for the business, we are joined by Devesh Sachdev, the Managing Director and CEO at Fusion Microfinance. Devesh, thanks a lot for joining us. I remember we had a chat with you during the time of your listing, and you did mention at that time that you're not aggressively looking to gain market share and you're moving more towards secured loans. So tell us a little bit about what the growth trajectory would look like, not for this year, not for FY23. I'm just asking you a little bit if you can give us, a bird's eye view of both the industry as well as the growth plans for Fusion Microfinance.
Good morning, Sonia. Sonia, if I remember correctly, what I said was that we will not be aggressive in terms of only, talking about market share. We will be very calibrated in our growth. MSME is a very small, it's around 2.5% of our total overall my portfolio. So we are very calibrated. We want to grow that, but we are very focused on microfinance as our core business and where we see a good potential. Some of the trends I can tell you is the fact that now the pangs of COVID are behind. The growth is back. We are seeing a good uptick of the demand. In our H1, we have done close to 4,000 crore of disbursement. So we are seeing a good uptick. The new regulations have been put in place where you need to do a credit assessment at household level. And I am very hopeful that this will further increase the sustainability of the clients and whatever arbitrage, whatever, some distortion which was there in the sector where the rules were only applicable on NBS MFI, will make sure that the sector will grow at a more sustainable level and the client-owned indebtedness will be controlled. So that's my initial comment.
Devesh, morning. Now, you provide financial services to the unserved and underserved women in rural areas. Now, the rural markets, the economy has been under stress. Inflation is hurting households and, women are may not be the primary breadwinner, but, inflation does hurt. So does this cautious macro outlook on the rural economy hurt the prospects of Fusion Microfinance? Just can you talk about the next 6 months? What is it that you're seeing on the ground and how this macro outlook impacts them and their plans?
Yeah. So if you see in their overall, spending basket, crude is not a very big element. So one of the big driver of inflation has been the crude. That's the first point. The second point is the fact that most of our customers are in essential services. Suppose she's selling milk prices go up. So it's actually nullified whatever earning. So we are not seeing, that kind of impact as far as the inflation is concerned. And now I think the new numbers are showing that inflation, hopefully will be under control. So we are not seeing any such impact, and customers are, as I mentioned, the demand is up. People are coming out of COVID. They want to start new enterprise or they want to really augment their existing enterprises. So we are seeing a very good demand for credit in the rural areas.
Devesh, hi. Good morning. It's widely acknowledged by economists, people who watch the economy, that the lower end of the population is hurting, right? This is where, of course, not just you, but all microfinance works in. The revival there is very, very slow. Now, that is borne through data. I mean, if you were to pass through the recently announced GDP numbers or other high-frequency data points, etc., as well. So how does, you've been, the company has been around for, 10 years, right, in the MFI business. How has business performed during these kind of phases? Do you see a slowdown? And of course, at the same time, hopefully rates are at a peak, but they're still rising. Your thoughts?
Yeah. Good morning, Prashant. Prashant, so from my own experience, so what I could, what we see is that, especially with this customer segment where we operate, they get impacted more by local events. They get impacted if suppose there's a flood, there's a COVID. They get more impacted, Prashant, when they are not able to really go for their daily livelihood and not able to earn. I think that is a more impact makes more impact on them rather than macro environments like I'm not trying to say that inflation doesn't make an impact, but I'm saying especially crude is not part of their overall market, spending basket, and then they are into essential services. Whatever they sell, they get better price, so it gets nullified. So if you see whether it is, I can take you back to 2008, though we started just after that, but I was looking at the microfinance sector at that point of time, was traveling in the field. There was no impact. And you see 2010, there's one big IPO happened, the first IPO in the microfinance space. This was just out after, in between the great the economic recession. So my view is that this class has shown huge resilience. It is also helped by a lot of work which has done by the government through DBT, all other support which has gone to this segment. So I think it's a combination of all these factors. We are seeing that this is a huge, this class is a segment is a very, very resilient, and they really are wanting to come back. And that is clearly being visible in the kind of demand we are getting in the credit.